Tonight at 6, a fire on campus prompts a full evacuation at a building there. Plus, the city looks to add a new park on Mifflin Street. Why some aren't so happy with the idea. But first, a showdown at Camp Randall as the Badgers take on the Troy Trojans in the second home game of the season. Hi, and welcome to News 3 at 6. I'm Leah Linscheid in for Danica Lewis tonight. The Badgers game just wrapped up, and it was the second blowout in as many weeks. Eric Ryla is here to break down today's action.
Big time blowout. Again, last week Wisconsin shut out Miami, Ohio. This week, Troy figured to be a bigger challenge, but still nothing to really lose sleep over if you're a Badger fan. The first meeting between the Badgers and the Trojans. Corey Clement didn't play again today, but hey, Ogunbowale did. And he picks up the slack, scores a touchdown here in the first quarter to make it 7-0 Bucky. In the fourth, it's 21-3, and fans start pouring out of the stadium. Not because it's a blowout, but somebody pulled the fire alarm. Turned out to be a false alarm, but the kids got a kick out of it. They resume action. Stavi to Austin Trailer for the score. Wisconsin wins it 28-3. Wisconsin now 2-1 on the season. One more non-conference game next week as they host Hawaii next Saturday. You never did anything like that when you were at UW, did you?
No, of course.
Pulled the fire
I was the
alarm?
perfect student.
Of course. Jumping around.
Yeah.
Just don't pull the fire alarm next time.
We'll leave it at that. All right. Thanks, Eric. It was a perfect day for a football game. Let's head on over to meteorologist Bob Lesh to see what we can expect for the rest of the night, Bob.
Yeah, well, we were going to see clear skies. It will be a little bit on the cool side.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, it was bad timing for an air handling unit to catch fire at the university's computer science building today. This one, not a false alarm. The fire department had to fight the blaze and a crowd on Dayton Street by Camp Randall this morning. Firefighters evacuated the building, but they still need to ventilate any leftover smoke before anyone can re-enter.
This is the worst place that we want to be for any type of emergency event. As you can see walking around with all the crowd, yeah, we'd rather be out of their way and let them have their fun. But it is what it is. We'll deal with it, and then we'll get out of everybody's hair.
Nobody, luckily, was injured as a result of that fire. Well, a state report says a homicide suspect who was shot and killed by deputies in July pointed an empty gun at them. 25-year-old Francisco Benitez Santiago of Monroe was killed in July after being shot twice by Greene County deputies there. Benitez Santiago was the only suspect in another shooting less than 30 minutes earlier in Monroe that left one man dead and another critically wounded. The report says deputies opened fire on him because they believed he was about to shoot him. Well, 2 people are in the hospital after a fatal motorcycle crash in northern Wisconsin overnight. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office says deputies were called to the scene around 9. Investigators believe an eastbound motorcycle carrying 2 people crossed the center line and crashed into another motorcycle. Both were killed. The 2 people on that second motorcycle were taken to the hospital. No names have been released and no word on those injuries yet, as the crash remains under investigation. A couple of downtown apartments could be condemned, then demolished to make room for a new city park if Madison officials get their way. But one property owner says he'll put up a fight before his building goes down.
This building is all brick. This building is not going anywhere for the next 100 years unless they knock it down.
It's not sticks and stones threatening the life of the 40-year-old Ambassador West on Mifflin. Instead, it's the words of Madison's mayor.
In terms of the existing properties, for the amount of land we're getting, it is one of the best buys potentially. The
city is considering condemning some properties along Mifflin Street, including the 78-unit complex, to build a park there instead.
This location is what we think is the best, where we can assemble something that's meaningful and at the same time have the least impact on existing housing stock.
This move makes no sense from a standpoint for them, really. It certainly doesn't for me.
Ambassador's owner says the apartment offers a fair price to students in an otherwise expensive downtown. Plus, the property's still young compared to nearby housing stock.
There's all kinds of properties in the area for park that are old, aged buildings like they claim they want to take down to put in a park.
I can understand if somebody's got a good income-producing property that's not at the end of its useful life, that they would want to, but again, we've just got to do something.
Mayor Soglin says the city is decades past due for a new downtown park, and this is the perfect place to build it. But at least one property owner doesn't see it that way.
So now they come along and say, well, we gotta knock somebody's property down. Well, I intend to not let it be mine.
Now, between getting public input, then going through the legal process of condemnation, it could take years for the park to get the go-ahead. Well, nearly 2 weeks after a fire shut down a popular Madison restaurant, it's finally opening back up today. Paisan suffered a kitchen fire in early September that caused thousands of dollars in damage. Managers are hoping a combination of Badger game day traffic along with great weather will bring in a big crowd as they reopen.
I spent a lot of time answering the phone the last couple weeks as I stood up front, and a lot of people just wanted to know when we were going to be back open. I got a lot of, "I'm sorry for this happening, you know, we hope you open as soon as possible."
Nobody was injured in that fire. Paisan's will resume its regular hours from here on out. An auto parts maker out of Milwaukee plans to cut 3,000 workers. Johnson Controls is trimming about $250,000 in yearly costs as it tries out new ventures, including a spin-off business making car seats, trim, and fabric. The CEO says the business has to better adapt to a changing industry as their stocks continue to fall. The cuts will be spread out over the next 2 years. Hundreds of area progressives gathered at Breese-Stevens Field today to celebrate the legacy of Fightin' Bob LaFollette, the former Wisconsin governor, senator, and father of the Wisconsin progressive movement. Fightin' Bob Fest is an annual event that brings local Democratic and progressive organizations together with the people they serve.
Everything in Wisconsin in Democratic and progressive politics traces back to Bob LaFollette. Like, you cannot overstate the importance of Bob LaFollette and his contribution to progressive politics.
Organizers say today's event was especially important this year in the run-up to the 2016 election. Well, still ahead, fall is on the way, and that means it's the season for shopping. Coming up in our Consumer Report, how to get even better deals for the student in your household. Stay with us.